I never thought I'd have to share a roof with Ryan again. My stepbrother was supposed to be a chapter closed years ago, a wild, chaotic part of my teenage life that faded once we both grew up and drifted into our own world. But life, with its sharp irony, had other plans. His breakup with some guy in the city, and a job transfer gone wrong had him knocking on my door 2 weeks ago, suitcase in one hand, that same devil-may-care smirk on his face. "Just a couch for a while," he'd said. "I'll stay out of your way." I wanted to believe that. I wanted to believe that the distance and time had dulled whatever strange, unspeakable current once passed between us when we were younger, before I met Julian, before I ever knew what love and guilt could feel like in the same breath. Julian, my partner of 4 years, was away on business for the month. We hadn't been connecting much lately. Work, silence, routine. Our bed felt colder than usual even before Ryan showed up. But I told myself that was normal, all couples hit dry spells. Ryan wasn't normal. He moved like he still had the world wrapped around his finger, like nothing ever touched him too deeply. He never stayed fully dressed in the house, always shirtless, always barefoot, like he belonged in every room. He'd stretch on my couch, laugh too loud at old sitcoms, and leave a trail of heat and familiarity that made it impossible to ignore him. The first few nights were fine, civil, casual. We caught up, talked about our parents, complained about politics and coffee prices. But I noticed things. The way his eyes lingered just a second too long. The way he stood in the kitchen behind me, chest grazing my back when reaching for something overhead. Harmless, but not really. One night, after a long shift at work, I came home to find him asleep on the couch, legs splayed, blanket barely covering his lower half. A soft glow from the TV flickered across his bare chest. I froze. Just stood there watching him breathe. Slow, even, peaceful. My eyes drifted, shamelessly, to the lines of his stomach, the way his hand rested just below the waistband of his shorts. I hated myself for how long I looked. The guilt sank deep, a familiar old flavor on my tongue. I shook it off, told myself I was just tired. That this was stupid. But it kept happening, little moments, each one sharpening the edge of something neither of us dared to say out loud. Thursday night, it changed. I had just come out of the shower, towel around my waist, walking to the bedroom when I found him standing in the hallway. Just standing there, shirtless, damp from his own shower, eyes fixed on me like I was something he hadn't decided whether to devour or destroy. "You still use that lavender stuff," he said softly. "Julian likes the scent," I replied, clutching the towel a little tighter. He stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the heat rolling off his skin. "Always smelled better on you," he murmured. I didn't move. Couldn't. The air between us was thick, pressing. I could hear the hum of the fridge down the hall, the soft creak of the floorboards beneath his bare feet. My breath hitched when his hand reached up, just briefly, to brush a drop of water from my collarbone. It wasn't sexual. Not exactly. It was something else, a question. But I stepped back. I turned away. I mumbled something about needing sleep, and shut my bedroom door with a force that felt more like a lie than protection. That night I tossed in bed, sheets twisted, body on fire. Every creak in the hallway made my heart leap. I imagined footsteps stopping outside my door. A knock. An invitation. Or a mistake. I wasn't sure which I wanted more. And then, sometime after midnight, I heard it, the soft creak of the couch, a low sigh, a rustle of movement. I tiptoed out of bed, unable to resist, and peeked into the dimly lit living room. Ryan lay there, again shirtless, half under a blanket, one arm draped across his forehead. Vulnerable. Beautiful in a way I hadn't allowed myself to acknowledge before. I watched his chest rise and fall, the corner of his lips twitch slightly in sleep. I thought about Julian, about loyalty, about years of shared memories and love. And yet, I stood there longer than I should have. I didn't go to him. I didn't say a word. I just stood, watched, and wondered how many more nights I could survive this tension, this delicious, dangerous temptation living just down the hall. When I finally turned away and crawled back into bed, I didn't sleep. Not really. And when I did, I dreamt of him, and the things he hadn't done yet. It started with a bottle of red wine and the kind of silence that tastes like anticipation. Ryan had cooked that night. A simple pasta, nothing special, but he knew what he was doing. He filled our glasses generously and sat close. Too close. Every time I shifted away on the couch, he found a way to fill the space again. His thigh brushed mine. He laughed a little too loud at my stupid jokes. I should have said something. I should have gone to bed. But I didn't. Julian had called earlier. A short, clipped conversation. Work's busy. Talk later. No, I miss you. No warmth. Just obligation. The kind of call that leaves you lonelier than before it rang. I didn't tell Ryan. He didn't ask. By the second glass of wine, my nerves were softening. By the third, my defenses were down. I always hated how you held back, Ryan said suddenly, eyes on the glass in his hand. Even back then. I blinked. Back when? You know when, he said, looking at me now. High school. Late nights. You'd look at me like you wanted to do something reckless. But you never did. That's because it was reckless, I said, voice low. Still is. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. You think Julian would have even noticed if you had? I turned away. That was the line, wasn't it? The real line, not just the physical one. He saw through me. He always had. You're not being fair, I said. Maybe. But I'm not wrong. The silence stretched again. This time it felt heavier. Honest. Ryan stood and walked to the kitchen, returning with the bottle and topping off my glass without asking. Then he sat back down, a little closer this time, thigh pressed full against mine. You ever think about it? He asked, voice soft. What it might have felt like, if you hadn't pulled away all those years ago? I didn't answer. He took the glass from my hand and set it aside. His fingers grazed mine. He didn't look away. Do you want to know? I should have stood up. I should have said no, reminded him I was taken, that this wasn't a game. But instead, I let him move closer. I let his breath hit my neck. I let his hand trail up my thigh like it belonged there. And then I let go. The kiss wasn't sudden. It had been building for weeks, maybe years. It was heat and hunger and ache, not just for him, but for something I hadn't let myself feel in so long. Passion. Attention. Being wanted. He pulled me into his lap, and I didn't resist. His mouth moved against mine with a kind of desperation, like he was trying to pull something from me I didn't know I still had. We didn't make it to the bedroom. The couch was enough. The low light from the kitchen. The wine on our breath. The way he looked at me like I was something he needed to survive. I remember the feel of his fingers tracing every line of me. The way he whispered my name. Not rushed, not rough, but reverent. Like it meant something. And in that moment, I wasn't Julian's. I wasn't anything but his. The world narrowed down to two bodies colliding in quiet rebellion. Every moan was a confession. Every breath a betrayal. Afterward, we didn't speak. I lay half on top of him, chest heaving, heartbeat wild. He stroked my back in slow, lazy circles. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. So I kissed him once more, softly. Then I stood, pulled my shorts back on, and walked silently to my room. I shut the door behind me, leaned against it, and let the weight of what I'd done crush down on me. Julian. His name hit like a cold slap. I thought about our apartment, the pictures on our walls, the weekends we used to spend doing nothing and loving every second of it. I thought about how far we'd drifted, and how fast I had fallen into someone else. But it wasn't just someone else. It was Ryan. My stepbrother. The boy I grew up beside. The one who teased me, challenged me, saw through me like glass. The one who waited years for me to see him the way he saw me. I climbed into bed alone. The sheets were still warm from the dream I'd been living. But I knew the nightmare was coming. As I closed my eyes, the taste of him still on my lips, One thought kept circling like a vulture above a fresh kill. The morning light was cruel. Too honest, too exposing. It streamed through the half-open blinds like judgment, washing the room in pale gold, stripping away the heat of the night before. I lay in bed, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. My body ached, not from discomfort, but from memory. Every part of me still hummed with the weight of Ryan's touch. My skin remembered him in ways I wasn't ready to admit. I hadn't slept. Not really. I drifted in and out of shallow dreams, each one looping back to the same moment. His mouth on my chest, his voice low and hungry, his hands knowing exactly where to go. And underneath it all, Julian. His name came crashing down like a wave I couldn't swim against. The taste of guilt filled my mouth, bitter and unshakable. I rolled out of bed, wincing as my feet touched the cold floor, and pulled on a t-shirt. The house was quiet. In the kitchen, Ryan was at the stove, shirtless again, as if nothing had changed. Scrambled eggs sizzled in the pan, and the smell of burnt toast clung to the air. He looked over his shoulder when I walked in. No smile. No shame. Just those sharp green eyes, calm and unreadable. "Morning," he said, like it was any other day. I opened my mouth, then closed it. I wanted to ask what now, but the words didn't fit in the sunlight. He turned off the stove and plated the eggs. "Eat," he said, sliding one toward me. I sat reluctantly. My hands shook slightly as I reached for the fork. Last night hadn't been a drunken mistake. We'd been aware. Sober enough. Wanting it long before the first drop of wine. That was the truth I couldn't ignore. Ryan sat across from me, elbows on the table, eyes fixed on me like he was waiting for something. Maybe an apology, maybe an invitation. I didn't give him either. "I shouldn't have," I started. He cut me off. "Don't insult both of us with regret." I looked up, startled. "I know you," he continued, voice low but steady. "You wanted that just as much as I did. Maybe more." "You're my stepbrother," I said, though the words felt weak, like an excuse grasping for relevance. "And you're someone's partner," he said. "Yet you still came to me." That hit hard. I pushed my plate away. "You think I don't feel like shit about it?" I snapped. He tilted his head. "Do you?" I stood, the chair scraping loudly against the tile. "Don't turn this into a game." Ryan stood too, slowly, deliberately. He crossed the space between us in 3 steps. His voice dropped lower, almost a whisper. "You think this is a game for me? You think I planned this?" He was close now. Too close again. "You think I liked lying awake for years wondering what your mouth would feel like on mine? You think I didn't try to stay away?" His hand came up, just grazing the edge of my jaw. I flinched but didn't pull away. "I didn't come here to ruin anything," he said. "But you let it happen. You let me happen." I turned away, chest tight. "I have to figure this out." "I won't chase you," he said. "But don't pretend you're running for the right reasons." I didn't answer. I couldn't. My world was already tilting, and he had the audacity to make sense. Later that afternoon, I stood in the bathroom staring at myself. My reflection didn't lie. Red marks on my collarbone. Lips that still felt too swollen. Eyes that looked like they'd seen too much. I thought about Julian, about the promises we'd made, the life we'd built. The silence that had grown between us. The way he used to touch me like I was the only thing that mattered. That hadn't happened in months. I picked up my phone, thumb hovering over his contact. I almost called. Instead, I got a message. "Julian, just landed. Flight was early. Be home tonight." My stomach twisted. That gave me 6 hours to either bury everything or rip it all open. I walked into the living room. Ryan was on the couch, reading, legs up, shirt finally on but still unbuttoned. He looked up when I entered, sensing something had changed. "He's coming back," I said. He nodded once. "Then I guess that's that." There was a long pause. I waited for him to say more. He didn't. "I don't know what I'm going to say to him," I admitted. "Start with what you're not going to say," Ryan replied. "Don't lie to him. He deserves better than that. I almost laughed. So do I. He stood, walked over, and touched my hand gently, not possessive, not seductive. Just real. You do, he said. Even if you won't let yourself believe it. I swallowed hard. As he walked away, disappearing down the hall, a single truth settled in my chest. What happened between us wasn't just infidelity. It was exposure. To everything I'd been denying, my desires, my unhappiness, my craving to be seen. And now, with Julian on his way back, the lie I'd been living had a clock ticking down. Julian arrived just after 6 p.m. His suitcase thudded against the hardwood floor with a weight that felt metaphorical. I was in the kitchen, pacing, when I heard the lock turn and the door creak open. "Hey," he called casually, as if everything was still intact. As if nothing had shifted in the foundation of the home we'd built. I froze. His voice used to wrap around me like a warm blanket. Now it sounded foreign. Or maybe I was the one who had changed. He appeared in the doorway, suit slightly wrinkled, hair tousled from travel. Handsome, tired, familiar. My chest ached with the kind of nostalgia you feel before something ends. "Everything okay?" he asked, setting his bag down and stepping forward for a kiss. I let it happen, lips brushing lips, but it felt performative like muscle memory. He noticed. He stepped back. "Something happened," he said immediately, scanning my face. He'd always been good at reading me, just never good at asking the right questions. I looked down. "We need to talk." Julian sat at the table, arms crossed. The same chair where Ryan had offered me eggs and an unwanted truth just hours before. I sat across from him, my fingers threading together so tightly my knuckles turned white. "I slept with someone," I said. No preamble. No detours. Just the blade of the truth, pressed clean and cold against the air. Julian blinked. He didn't speak. My heart pounded. I kept going, voice steady but low. It wasn't random. It wasn't meaningless. And it wasn't planned. "Who?" he asked finally. I hesitated. "Ryan," I said. Silence. The kind that screams. Julian laughed. Not out of humor, out of disbelief. "Your stepbrother?" I nodded. My face burned with shame, but not regret. "Are you in love with him?" he asked. I didn't answer right away. Because I didn't know. Or maybe I did, and I just didn't want to say it out loud. "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I know I don't feel about you the way I used to." That broke something. Julian stood, pacing now. His hands clenched and unclenched like he needed to hit something. "So what? This has been a lie. All of it?" "No," I said quickly. "We had love. We had years of it. But it faded. We stopped seeing each other." "I saw you," he spat. "You saw what you wanted to see," I replied. "You stopped touching me. You stopped talking to me unless it was about bills or your flight schedule. I was lonely, Julian. I was starving for someone to want me." He stared at me, stunned. "And Ryan, he just happened to be here at the right time? He's always been there. In the background. And maybe that's the problem." I buried it. "We both did." "You're not even sorry," he said. "I'm sorry it happened like this. But I'm not sorry I woke up. Even if it was in the wrong bed." Julian's shoulders dropped. Defeated. "So what now?" I didn't answer. Because I didn't know. Or maybe I did. Ryan came home an hour later. I texted him to give me space. But of course he didn't listen. That wasn't his style. He walked in, saw Julian, and froze. The tension between them was electric. Not hostile, just loaded. Julian didn't speak to him. Just walked past him, out the door, keys in hand. "I'm going to my brother's," Julian said without looking back. "I'll come for the rest of my things tomorrow." And just like that, he was gone. The door closed with a sound that felt more like an ending than anything I could say. Ryan didn't say anything for a long time. He just leaned against the doorframe, eyes on me. "So," he said softly, "you told him." I nodded. "And now?" "I don't know," I whispered. I just detonated everything. Ryan stepped closer, cautiously. Do you regret it? I looked up at him. Really looked. No, I said. I regret waiting this long to figure out what I want. He came to me then. This time, he didn't kiss me. He just held me, arms wrapped around my back, head resting against mine. No pressure. No seduction. Just presence. I don't want to be your rebound, he murmured. I want to be your choice. I pulled back, meeting his eyes. Then let me choose you. Not because I'm broken, but because you make me feel alive again. He smiled, small, sad, hopeful. Okay. We stood there, in the quiet that followed destruction. No illusions. Just two men surrounded by the debris of old love, trying to build something real from the ruin.